Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today. And today, the Houston Rockets lose to the Los Angeles Clippers 134-117 as the Rockets lose to the Clippers for the first time this year. First time facing Kawhi Leonard as well. And Ivica Zubac gets his first NBA triple-double. 20 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists for Zubac tonight. He's so underrated. I mean, I know a lot of people have started to realize some of the talent he has this year, but he's still such an underrated player. Harden had 35 tonight with 10 assists. Kawhi had 22. He was great. This Clippers team had a good performance tonight, even though the Rockets, most of their starters tonight were out, plus Jabari Smith Jr., and the only starter that did play tonight was Jalen Green. He only played the first half, playing 15 minutes, but still a solid performance by the Clippers tonight. The way I look at this game is, or just the night for the Rockets, is this was a fantastic night for the Rockets. And if you are a Rockets fan, I think it is not hard to realize what I'm talking about. I'm not even talking about this game. I'm talking about other games that happened for this Rockets team tonight. The Oklahoma City Thunder beat the Phoenix Suns 125-112, and with that, the Phoenix Suns are eliminated from postseason contention. And that could set off more of a collapse for the Phoenix Suns. Now, that's not the... I don't know how many people were paying attention to this when it was happening, because I know I was. I had my eyes glued to the TV to the end of San Antonio Golden State game. But let's just say Harrison Barnes might deserve a statue in the city of Houston if the Rockets end up getting the number 1 overall pick, or if the next couple days for the Rockets end up like I think they should. All right, so if you didn't see it, in Golden State, the Warriors blew a lead to the San Antonio Spurs, who didn't have Chris Paul in the fourth quarter, also without Victor Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox, and Harrison Barnes hit a game-winning 3. Now you're wondering, what does that have to do with the Rockets? Well, if the Spurs win and the Suns loss, there is still a chance for the San Antonio Spurs to finish with a better record this season than the Phoenix Suns. What does that do? Well, and here's what the Rockets need to happen. The Spurs have 2 games left. The Suns have 2 games left. One of them is against each other. So the Spurs' next matchup and the Suns' next matchup are against each other. So the Rockets need the Spurs to beat the Suns, and then they need the Spurs in their final game of the season on Sunday to beat the Toronto Raptors. And they need, obviously, the Suns to lose to the Spurs when they play each other, which I believe is on Friday. And yeah, it's on Friday. And then on Sunday, they need the Suns to lose to the Kings, who are fighting for seeding right now. Keep in mind, Kevin Durant's not going to play. I wouldn't be surprised if they shut down Booker. I think this is not hard to happen. Now, the only hard part that was going to be was the San Antonio Spurs, the San Antonio Spurs beating the Golden State Warriors tonight, and that's what made this seem very impossible. Well, Harrison Barnes hit a game-winning 3 at the buzzer against his former team, Golden State, tonight to give the Spurs a 114-111 win, and that keeps this dream for the Rockets alive. And what this would do is, if this happens, and if the Spurs finish off the season 2-0 and the Suns finish off the season 0-2, that means both teams would finish off the year, I believe it would be 36-46. Both teams would finish off the year 36-46, and the Rockets draft pick that they have from the Phoenix Suns would go up in odds. The odds would go up for the Rockets in this year's draft. In this year's draft lottery that is happening on May 12th. Now, currently, the Rockets draft odds, they have currently 17% chance to be in the top 4, and they have a 17.3% chance, and then a 3.8% chance to get the top overall pick. I think we all know who's number 1 this year. It's Cooper Flagg. He's the generational talent. I think he's probably the biggest talked about number 1 overall pick since Zion. And so the Rockets, if the Suns lose their final 2 games, the Spurs win their final 2 games, the odds go up on that. The top 4 for the Rockets, odds for the Rockets go up from 17.3% to a little bit over 26%. And if the Spurs win their final 2 games and the Suns lose their final 2 games, the odds of the Rockets getting the number 1 overall pick goes from 3.8% to 6%. Keep in mind, all the bottom teams in the league, the Jazz, the Hornets, the Wizards, those three teams that are the worst three teams in the league, all have a 14% chance. So the Rockets, who are the 2 seed, are going to have half the chance to get Cooper Flag that some of the worst teams in the league do because of the trade that Raphael Stone made with the Phoenix Suns, last June. But like I said, Suns need to lose their final 2, and the Rockets need the Spurs to lose their final 2. And if you think a 6% chance is not good, here are a couple examples of some draft lotteries in the past. Last year, the Atlanta Hawks, who received the number 1 overall pick, drafting Zachary Richardson, had a little bit over a 3% chance. They're in the spot the Rockets were in right now. They're in the spot the Rockets are in right now, and still were able to get the first overall pick, even though they had a 3% chance to get it, and still got it. And then here's another example. The same spot the Rockets would be in if the Suns lose their final 2 and the Spurs win their final 2. And it's kind of odd because this is another Duke player. In 2019, when the Pelicans had their number 1 overall pick, got their number 1 overall pick and drafted Zion, they had a 6% chance to get the number 1 overall pick. Also, another example is not a number 1 overall pick example, but last year when the Rockets got the top 3 overall pick where they drafted Reed Sheppard, they only had a 17% chance to get into the top 4 and still got the number 3 overall pick. That was Brooklyn's pick last year, and they had the 9th best odds in the draft lottery last year and still ended up number 3 in the draft. So anything can happen with the draft lottery, and we've seen a team before with 6% chance to win the lottery, still win the lottery recently in 2019. We saw that. So, but let's get to this game. Like I said, the next couple of days of the season, I think we all become Spurs fans for the rest of the season, and we all continue like we've done. I think all Rockets fans have done all season, continue to boo the Phoenix Suns, and pray for their demise. All right, so let's get to this game though. Another reason I think this was a good night for the Rockets, not just the fact that the Harrison Barnes thing happened, the Suns lost, and the Rockets have a chance to have a better draft pick. If some more things happen in the final couple days of the season. I also thought it was a good thing the Rockets lost this game tonight. The Rockets have nothing to play for. They are going to be the 2 seed no matter what happens in their final 3 games going into the night. They were resting most of their starters. Here's one thing I am thinking about when I'm watching this game tonight. You do not want to beat the Los Angeles Clippers because this is not a team you want to play in the first round. There is a chance that you could run into the Los Angeles Clippers in the first round if they fall to the play-in. You do not want that to happen. You do not want that to happen. And what I would prefer to see is the Clippers jump to the 3 seed and then the Rockets potentially play them in the second round. Look, this is not a team I want the Rockets to play in the first round, but if they can get through a first-round playoff series, I think I'd be okay with them playing them in the second round. The reason I say this is because, the Rockets would be more experienced. If you play a Minnesota or a Memphis in the first round of the playoffs, then and you get past that matchup, you're more experienced in the playoffs. There are guys on this team that have never played in the playoffs anymore. They've never played in the playoffs, but if they get that experience and they start to they start the flow in the playoffs and they've got that energy down, I think the Clippers are a matchup you like in the second round compared to not liking it in the first round, because look at your other options potentially facing in the second round that, teams that could be the 3 seed, the Lakers, the Nuggets, the Warriors. I don't know if the Warriors still, after their loss tonight, I don't know if the Warriors still have a shot to the 3 seed, but you don't want to play teams like that in the second round. And I know, look, regardless of the Clippers, Lakers, Warriors, and Nuggets, you're going to play a team that has a lot of veteran and a lot of playoff experience. Kawhi Leonard, championship DNA. James Harden, not exactly championship DNA, but playoff DNA from his time in Houston and other, in some of the other teams he's played for. And then, Norman Powell, championship DNA. Zubac, very familiar in the playoffs. So it's not like they don't have the experience, but you got LeBron James, who, if you look at the Lakers, LeBron James, multiple championships. Luka Doncic has experience, just won the Western Conference. His team just won the Western Conference last year, and made it to the NBA Finals. Austin Reeves was a part of a team that made it to the Western Conference Finals. So that's not a team you want to face compared to the Clippers, I think. And then you look at the Warriors, Steph and Jimmy. Jimmy's got multiple huge playoff runs under his belt. Steph has multiple huge playoff runs and championship runs under his belt. Same thing with Draymond. Nuggets, their whole team. I know Michael Malone's gone, but their whole team, went to championship together. And, the core of that team is still there. I mean, KCP's gone and Bruce Brown's gone, but you still got Jokic, MPJ, Aaron Gordon. That's a tough matchup in a second round potential playoff series. So I would hope for a team to get to the 3 seed, I would pray that would be the Clippers, and then that would be potentially who the Rockets could face in the second round instead of having to face a Nuggets, Lakers, Warriors, some of those potential teams, who could end up being the 3 seed as well. If they win it, but then that 3 seed has to win their playoff series too. The Clippers would have to win their playoff series, whoever they would play at the 6 seed. But yeah. All right, so let's go over some stats of this game. Reed Sheppard, the rookie, looked spectacular tonight. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 7 for 14, 6 for 10 from 3. This is what, like I said, bad, not great odds in the draft lottery gets you. Rockets had a 17% chance to get in the top 4 and got the 3rd overall pick. And this is what Reed Sheppard does when he gets good minutes, 20 points, 6 for 10 from 3. You love to see it. Jalen Green only played the first half, 15 minutes, 2 for 7, 5 points, and 3 assists in the first half. I salute Jalen because he wants to play. He has a game streak where he's not missed games. I think it's going back to his rookie or second year season. And so you love that. I think you have to love that about Jalen, how he doesn't want to miss games. But also the thing I wonder if he doesn't look like he cares about is that the fact that, he may probably tell him, yeah, you're not playing the full game. You're playing the first half. That's it. That's going to take your stats down, especially if you don't have a great first half. And so, that's something that I guess Jalen was okay with because he doesn't want to miss games. So I guess you have to love that about Jalen. Tari Eason and Cam Whitmore and Jock Landale, some of the other stars, got to play a little bit more than Jalen. Jock Landale, 11 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 4 for 7, 1 for 3 from 3. Cam Whitmore, 14 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Tari Eason, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. How about Jeff Green, Uncle Jeff off the bench, 19 points, 4 for 6 from 3, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. And the Rockets had one of their best 3-point shooting nights of the season, and most of their core team was out. 23s tonight, 6 for Reed, 4 for Jeff. That was half the Rockets' threes. Tari had 2. Both Cam, Jalen Green, Jock Landale, and those guys had 1 each. Jason Tate went 1 for 3. Aaron Holiday went 4 for 6 with 16 points. Jason Tate had 7 points. N'Faly Dante had 4 points and 2 blocks. And that was really it. I mean, this was a solid win for the Rockets. I'm sorry, this was a solid. I mean, it wasn't a win, but I still see today as a win with what happened with the Spurs and the Warriors and the Suns and the Thunder. And the fact that, you're keeping the Clippers potentially away from the play-in and having to potentially play them in the first round, I still see today as a W. But what I meant to say when I said nice win for the Rockets is nice performance by some of their players, and I know they weren't able to get a win. But it is impossible to win when all your starters are out, or 4 of your 5 starters are out. One of your best players is off the bench is out, and your 5th starter only plays the first half, and you've got young players and 2-way contract players playing. And so to play against a Clippers team that has Kawhi, has Harden and Zubac, and only lose by 17 in a game where Kawhi had to play 38 minutes, 37 minutes for Harden, 35 minutes for Zubac, I think it's pretty impressive that this Rockets team tonight was so shorthanded like they were, playing the Clippers, Harden, Kawhi, and Zubac. It got to the point where Harden, Kawhi, and Zubac had to play that many minutes like they did tonight on a second night of a back-to-back as well. So that's not good for this Clippers team, I'll tell you that. Let me know your thoughts on the Rockets' 117-134 loss in the comment section, and peace out, go Rockets.